Hi, my name is Sally Bernard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. It's time to trust your intuition. This is your inner knowings. Through questions and points of conversation, I can help others feel empowered. With the ability to touch people's past lives, I help others connect and not feel alone. Sit with me and call in live, 888-994-4995.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to be here again. First of all, I'm going to open the show, and I'm going to try to do this every week with a poem that I wrote going back many years before I actually began to really understand my journey. But before I even do that, I want to introduce my guest, who is now my husband, Steve. Hello, Steve. Okay.
Hello, Sally.
Okay. I'm going to read a poem. I just picked it out at the very last second, but I always believe it has a message. It's called Somewhere in Time. Where have we been for so long? I want to return. I have been lost in time. I am waking up. I love this remembrance. I feel so light. Please do not leave. Every day is a new memory of days that are and days that will appear as if in a dream. I want to see, hear, and feel you, my love. I am but a small speck in this place we choose to call Earth, one of many places. This can be so dense. We learn in time to break through the net and journey towards our home. We still have so many things to learn. I am blessed, for I have chose to remember, little by little, for it cannot happen all at once. I'm getting tired and yet so awake. What a miracle. Thank you so much, Zena. I wrote these poems, and I have quite a few of them, before I didn't even know what I was writing, but today, many years later, they begin to make so much sense to me, and I hope that it'll do the same with you, my audience who is listening. Okay, now let's open up to phone calls and the studio. Anyone here that would like to ask a question?
Well, I'd like to mention one of our wonderful naturalies that keep happening. As you know, I was looking for tickets for the Broadway show Hadestown that was playing at Kravis, and we couldn't find any tickets other than up in the balcony, which is not acceptable to us, to you. And so I kept on looking, and something provoked me to look 2 days before the date that I wanted. And as you know, I had a former relationship, and we used to have season tickets to Kravis. And lo and behold, I found 2 tickets, amazingly, the same 2 tickets that I used to have in subscription with my former relationship. Now, I have no idea what that meant or if it meant anything, but perhaps you can shed a light on what that might have been.
You're referring to me to shed the light, right?
Yeah.
Very lucky that I'm
You're
not a jealous lady.
You're the light shedder around here.
Like, I don't know. I think, Steve, it was just validation because there were no seats in the theater that night, and yet he calls 2 days before, and we were able to get 2 seats that he used to occupy, one of them with his former relationship. Now, I could say, okay, but I felt it's just validation on my behalf. I feel that they're watching over us. They wanted to see us. They wanted us to see the show, and they provided those 2 tickets for us.
And also the magic continues. You, unbeknownst to me, were looking for tickets for the Broadway show Tina, the Tina Turner story playing at the Broward Center, and you couldn't find any good seats, and I went online and found 2 seats in the 4th row.
Okay.
Not knowing that you were looking for seats.
Spirit has got to you, okay?
Yeah, well,
they're providing you and giving you good information here. It can only be good, right?
Yes, and it's absolutely what's been happening. In fact, you have mentioned that I have become very much in tune with your mind as You have accused me of reading your mind, and
Yeah, and I'm very aware of that, so I'm very careful of my thoughts, okay? You can see, we've been married 3 weeks, so I don't know, 4 weeks, oh, excuse me. So I don't know what's going to happen this time next year, but it's exciting, and I'm having a wonderful time.
what do you mean you don't know what's going to happen
Well, I
next time
mean,
this
I
year?
don't know how our conversation will flow, okay? We had a great cruise, and we had a good time. So, okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to ask us a few questions?
Hey, Sally, I have
Hi.
a question. How are you?
Good.
It's been an interesting day, to say the least, today. So many different things have come in over the weekend for the last 3 or 4 days, and it continues. The rest of the week in studio, there's all sorts of people who apparently are listening to the message that we've been talking about the last few weeks. So I want to know, staying positive with people, giving them reinforcements, come in, take a shot, make yourself known, all of this. Does it ever stop where it just perpetuates by itself? Or do you have to constantly be feeding it?
Okay, I like that question because I've actually asked myself the same question. I believe if we're in a, and I'm going to say obviously when we're in a positive frame of mind, we do attract positivity. But I also do believe, Freddie, that it does continue. When we have good days and bad days, we're here. Obviously, we're not happy all the time. We may try to be, but situations and circumstances around us can change that. But I believe the messages that we're getting from Spirit, and I'm going to call that, I like to say, beyond the veil or on the other side, they remain positive. So if we're having a bad day, they may put something in our path that will say, well, I'm having a bad day, but my goodness, look what just happened. So they can, as far as I know, and again, I have no actual proof on this, but they can change our bad day, so to speak, into a good day. So now we're back in a more positive mode again. Does this happen all the time? No, because we may not take notice of that. But I truly believe they try to give us all that positivity that they can. We don't always notice it, and I understand that, and I don't too. But I believe that many situations and circumstances happen for a reason, but that reason can make us become negative. They're aware of that. So they may put another positive without thinking of anything. I can't think of anything right now, but they will put something in our path again to try to change our attitude because we are vibrational energy and it goes out. So we really do need to remain positive. It's not natural to be positive all the time. I'm not either, but they help us change that. So I believe that positivity will attract positivity. We've just got to remember that.
So it's just going to feed itself and we have to be aware of it?
Yes, absolutely. The key word that you said is to be aware of it. Absolutely. Just remember when negativity is hitting us, and it will, obviously, and we're getting a lot of negative vibrations thrown at us, be aware. And that positivity will be a little shiny light. I can't tell you because I can't think of anything right now off the bat when that's happened to me, but I know it has. And continue and try and remain positive again. It'll bring us back to that feeling that we have. Boy, I'm meant to remain positive.
Now, I wanted to ask, because in studio today we had a number of people, and they sort of wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
And I think that the biggest fear is when you're going to take on a new venue, a new venture, a new adventure. You're afraid to ask how that's going to work, because you don't want to hear that it's not. So, if you've had a bad year last year and you're starting out this year fresh, which is what you should do, is it okay to ask what you see for that person in the coming year? And how would you answer it if you don't see it as positive as you think the person wants to hear it?
Yes, I think it's okay to ask because I'm here to answer questions, positive or negative. And I actually have to question myself as far as that goes, because if I see a lot of negativity in that question, and I will feel it, I've also got to be aware that I am talking to someone who's starting, let's say, a new venture. I might say, which might come to me, I don't want to feed them, oh, it's never going to work, because it may. But I would probably say go with caution. I'd give them a little bit of advice. I'm not, for myself, I know I can't it's hard to express negativity to someone, even if I see it. However, I know my job is to help them here. So the best way that I can help is I can shed some light on the fact that maybe I can see what might happen that may not be going the correct way for them. Am I going to tell them absolutely don't do that? It's going to fail. If I absolutely feel that, I might say take a different path. I'm not going to say absolutely it's going to fail because I'm not 100% certain. But I might give them the caution of maybe look into something else. Does that help a little bit?
That makes sense. But with that being said, then I'm going to ask you, what do you see for the building, for this business?
Okay. And that's good because it led into that, actually. And I've always told you that I feel very strongly about the fact that you guys are expanding. I feel that so much. I feel that it's really I'm not going to say I haven't contributed to that, but I feel that at the process of it starting was round about the same way that I actually came here. I mean, it's all part of maybe I felt that vibration. I feel that you're going to expand. I feel that it's going to be at this point in time in this building. You're either going to go upwards or out that way. Your attraction to people right now is very strong. You're giving a very good, solid message. Maybe I may not understand exactly what I'm telling you, but you will, I think. That continue with what you're doing. You are absolutely on the right track. I feel very positive about this. The people that you're attracting are from all different points of view, but I feel that the spirituality aspect of this, and I can't give myself a contribute to tell you that it was me that did this because it wasn't, but I came in with that feeling. So I feel that you're going to go a lot more into the spirituality. You will attract people that have a message that will help, I'm going to say help us, the world. And the people that are feeling that way will be attracted to your studio. It's going to grow very much. It's going to grow. You will have to, as far as what I can see, you will need, not have to, you don't have to do anything, but you will feel the need to expand. From here on in to another place, I don't know yet, but you will make this bigger. I feel more that it's going that way. If that makes, I don't know because I don't know your thoughts on this, but this is what I'm feeling.
No, that makes a lot of sense. If everything that we had planned last year were to happen, that's the way we would end up going.
I feel like I'm being led to tell you I'm going that way, yes.
That's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, unless we're just going out that way out the door. But the other thing I wanted to ask is, I get a pull that a lot of venues on the outside seems to be bringing venues to the inside. And I really didn't understand what that meant until recently. So today we had a gentleman who's going to redo baseball fields. He's going to redo a whole section of Boynton Beach. I have people that have singing careers that want to bring it, and they're going to be traveling all around Florida as well. Outside venues, bringing those venues into the house, good or bad, what do you feel?
Very good, because it's a form of diversion. I feel when I say the spirituality aspect of it, it doesn't mean that you're going to only have people on your show that are spiritual, but that spirituality is spreading out from, they're helping you. I guess that's a good way of saying that, to diversify. Diversifying is very good. But I feel because of what I'm saying as far as spirituality goes, because of that, you're going to attract more people of the same thought process that I have. But anything that you do from here on in, from what I can feel and see, the best that I can do this, you're going to expand. That's the word they're telling me. You're going to expand in many different ways with the people that you're going to have on your show, with the expansion of your premises, because you will need a bigger place. But I don't feel you're going to move out of here just yet. I think eventually you will. I think you're going to have a really big studio somewhere. But right now, my advice from what I hear is stay put, but expand within here. Does that?
Sounds good.
Okay.
You got anything?
I'm just enjoying.
How do you like the good news?
I always like good news. When we were this morning talking on the cafe about the candle lighting itself, does your collective, I know who Frank tells us, and I strongly believe he's correct. Your collective tell you anything about when that happens? When supernatural events happen, what do they say? What do they suggest?
Well, again, I always put it down to the fact that they're giving us validation because, you know, and even for myself, in fact, I do this quite a bit. Oh my gosh, how did that happen? And my friends that have just maybe started doing this journey with me, who know that I've had, I can't say that I know more, but I've touched more with them, they say, why are you always so surprised? I am. I still say, oh my gosh, I never want to lose that aha moment. Aldo, and I'm going to mention it again as I do on every show of my guide that passed, he used to say to me, why are you surprised? You know, but I am. I don't want to lose that. So they continue to validate us until we finally say, okay, they're here. And that's what that was.
It kind of makes me smile. I was waiting for you to tell me no, that you didn't do it, light it, because I knew in my heart that he didn't. But to explain that a candle lit itself.
No, she doesn't believe it. She thinks that I had something to do with it.
No, I don't believe that she does. I think she believes.
No,
I don't
totally
even
believe
know
you
what
didn't do
I don't
it.
even know where the lighter
I
is.
totally believe you. Tracy says bigger and better. Tracy, I thought you were coming today.
Yeah, I did too. I remember writing great to your comment. Where are you?
Tracy, you missed a great show this afternoon. You should be here.
Oh my, hello Tracy. You have a question for us?
If
Or
you
is
have a
she-
question, write in, Tracy. Absolutely. Karen, you have a question?
I have a question, Zena.
Hi Karen.
Hi. How do you bring in positivity and light into your life every day?
Well, I can't, and I have to be truthful about this. I mean, I try to make it every day, but we are here in a world where it's pretty dense sometimes. But I try to remember all the experiences that I've had that I really can't explain. So I believe truly with all my heart that we are being helped all the time. Not just me and not the people around me. We all are. But in order for them to be able to help us, we have to believe in this. So I remind myself, and I sometimes I do lose that. Well, I don't lose the belief, but I don't expect good things to happen to me all the time. I have to be open to the fact that if I want something, I feel and believe that that it will happen. So if you bring in that mindset, because it's vibrational energy and you're having a bad day, just think to yourself through meditation or just however you want to do it. You can just say it out loud. Look in the mirror. I'm changing this right now, and I want this, and whatever you would like for that situation or circumstance to happen, put in that good vibrational energy. And I do believe with all my heart that it'll come true.
Do you think when that, oh, she said she has a short week and she has oodles to do at work. Tracy.
Okay, all right. We'll forgive you.
Do you think that when people go through hard times and they go through the work to make life better for themselves, that the universe sees it and says, you know what, it's your time?
Yes, because we all have hard times. We're not here and everything goes correct. And I've had many hard times in my life. And as I will mention again, I did suffer from depression many years ago. But I wouldn't today, because of what I know, change which we were having this conversation. Unfortunately, my daughter did pass about 7 months ago. I can't say I wouldn't want to change that situation. Of course, I would. But other than that, anything that's happened to me, and I've had things just like everybody else, it has made me stronger in who I am today. We can't ever change our past. We can accept our past, and this is something that I want to work very much on. We continue to think about all the bad things that are happening to us, and this is a very dear topic to me right now, and I'm putting it in my book. We need to bring our now into a different aspect of what is happening. We continue to bring all these bad things back into what we call the now, and I used to hate that word, the now, but it makes so much sense to me. Why would I continue on the journey of thinking of things that happened many years ago? Let's change that. Let's try and be positive and bring positivity in, even if it's just for that one day at that moment. Let's try to do that. And try it. I believe it will continue.
And as the Reverend Dr. Robert Schuller wrote, tough times never last, tough people do. And we need that message now more than ever, I think.
Absolutely, Stephen. I'm sorry. I kind of overlooked the fact that you were sitting there. I forgot.
That's perfectly all right.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. That is very true. We are a product of, I believe, I'm certainly a product of all the things that have happened to me. And if I dwell on some of the real bad, what I would call negativity, well, I can't put a smile on my face because I'm feeling upset. So I learned that very much when I first came to this country. I knew no one. I had left everything behind me in England. But I said, if I continue on this poor me, I don't know anyone and very little resources to fall back on, I wouldn't have made any friends. So I walked around and I put a smile on my face, not knowing where tomorrow was going to bring me. I was practicing that without even really understanding it. And sooner or later, good things started to happen. If that hadn't, I can't tell you what would have happened to me, but I don't think I would have been as happy as I eventually got, because I'd still be thinking of all the bad things that happened to me, if that makes sense. Oh, dear me, and I think they're here. Dawn, do we have some spirits in the house?
Apparently, we have a spirit of a question.
Okay, we have a spirit.
I had a quick question.
Oh, you're not in spirit, Josh. You are here, right? No, we were talking
I'm
about
in here,
spirits.
yeah.
Yes.
If you fall off your track, I guess, of whatever path you're supposed to be on, if you fall off of it, does it create a new path?
It can, but I believe in what I call the timelines here. So sometimes we need to switch timelines, and again, I often say that, and one day we'll do a show on that.
Okay.
So if that is in that timeline, we're not aware of it. If there may be some positivity in that, we may continue on that. But if it's not, and if something makes you feel off balance, bring yourself back. That's the only way that I can really say that. We know when we're off balance. Mm-hmm. We might get depressed, we may cry, we may be, some people say, I'm having a bad day, this day is going to be awful. Guess what? The rest of the day becomes awful, and it can be the next day. So in my way of thinking, try to change that, even if you don't feel it, and put a smile on your face, even though you don't feel like it. If you're still feeling bad, maybe then we're meant to switch a timeline without explaining that. But that's a whole different subject. But always try to put positivity where there's negativity, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And to add something that I used to do at a particularly low point in my life, I wrote something on my bathroom mirror that I saw every day. And on the top it said, "Who got you into this mess?" And on the bottom it says, "You're looking at him."
I love that. Yes, that's
It
great.
helped me move on.
That's very good. Nice. Yes. And we all have bad days. I mean, we're here in a dense world. Yeah. I mean, if every day was great, we probably wouldn't appreciate all the great things that are happening to us. So every day is a new day. That's a good way to. They're telling me, say every day is a new day. Okay.
Sweet. Awesome. All right. Thank you,
Thank
Sally.
you. Thank you, Josh.
Our spiritual guys are supposed to sort of give us vision towards a path.
Yes, they do, because from what I truly believe is we have contracts here. So we set our own, so to speak, goals in our journey. If we want to think that we had this is what I believe. And again, I'm going to always say, you don't have to necessarily believe it. It's my belief, and good things have happened. That we have contracts, we talk as we are here before we come in of what we might want to do. Now, we are advised, we talk to people, I can't prove this is what I feel about, this is where I want to go at this part of my life, and so forth. Now, if we're on the wrong track of what, let's say they remember everything, that our script of what we're going to do here. So now if we're on the right track, on the wrong track, I believe they try to help us to put us back on the right track. And again, I'm going to say we have free will. So it's ultimately still our choice. But the way to recognize that is if you wake up, and here I'm talking about positivity, if you wake up and you feel that feeling when you come over you, which I've had many times when I wake up from my sleep, oh my gosh, it's another day and all these things, or you can't sleep, then, try to change that attitude. It's not easy, but try. And I truly believe from everything that I've learned and what I'm being told, it will change. It may not be that same day, but it will change. My message is to be positive. Am I positive all the time? No. But try it. Just try it. There's no harm in that. Try it.
Well,
Zena?
I'm amazed at the fact that, and I don't want to lose my train of thought, that they give you a path, and it's up to us to decipher how to use it or how to approach it. Today in studio, we had some young men that were caregivers at the age of 13 and 11 for their siblings, brothers and sisters, who needed their caring. And there's over 400 of these kids in this group. And you sit here, and I was sitting exactly where you're sitting, and it just grew on me. It dawned on me to say, you know, what a position for them to be and to meet somebody like you, who, even though you didn't ask for something like this to happen, it occurs. And it occurs when you least expect it, when you least know it. Children seem to be the theme today. You had kids in here. Phil was dealing with children. I mean, the theme just grew and grew and grew. So sometimes you have to figure it out when they give you these openings, yes?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
But how do we see them, Sally? How
Because
do we
it's-
see the openings?
It's a feeling within ourselves. I mean, what I heard today in the studio touched me greatly. It really did. And my immediate impression was, how can I help? How can I help? That came to me immediately. I don't believe that I was here accidentally to hear that story, because I really didn't know too much about caregiving. I know that my granddaughter was amazing with my daughter as she was passing. She never left her sight for a year. And I'm thinking, well, why am I feeling so strongly? But I think it was part of the message. They were reminding me that my granddaughter, who is still a young adult, wanted to care for her mother for a year, which was my daughter. So it touched me very greatly. We're put into places where they remind us, maybe that's where your path should go. Not everything relating to that, but somewhere in my life, I feel that I want to do something for those kids. It's not easy. So I was not here accidentally. I mean, it doesn't always have to be money. It can be your time. It can be anything. So they're giving us places to go to. They can direct us into places. I feel that Spirit can do that. If we lose, I never even thought about that until I sat here today, saying, what can I do for these children? So I believe that Spirit leads us. It's still up to us. I don't have to do anything. It's touched me. I believe that I will. I don't know what at this point, maybe just to talk to them. But I believe I will follow up on that. I don't have to, but it touches my heart. And it's not just me. It'll touch anybody that's being led to what they're meant to do.
Zena, as a mother who's lost a child, do you ever feel like the emptiness, and how do you handle when you start feeling empty in your life, like you no longer have the love and affection from your children anymore, and you feel lonely?
Well, if this helps in any way, and it certainly helps me, I believe they never leave us. I think, as far as what I feel, especially with my daughter, that there is a resting period when we first pass on. I feel her presence very much, as Steve can say too, because you lost your son, that we have validation along the way, which you can certainly explain too, that we were talking very much not long after she had passed. We were talking about my daughter, and we were driving to Port St. Lucie, and as we were talking about that, a car kind of overtook us, and right on the license plate was my daughter's initials, not only the first one, the second, and her last name. At that split second, to me, that was a message that she's listening. I don't believe she's ever left us. But of course, that's hard. It's hard to accept, but it certainly helped me in my grief, as I'm sure it has with you, Steve, if you'd like to elaborate a little bit more on that.
There's something that I've managed to do over the years, and my son passed over 8 years ago, is that when I'm feeling that pain, especially bad at any given moment, I just start to try and remember some of the funny, quirky attitudes and things that he was capable of, and It just brings a tear to my eye or joy to my heart. And if you'll do that, I think it'll help you bear this loss.
And also, I don't believe in coincidences, but since I arrived here at the Brooklyn Cafe, and it's just that I seem to have met so many people with this same loss. In the course of maybe, how long have I been here? Maybe 3 months, I really don't know. And it's like they're coming here, maybe I'm meant to talk or they're meant to talk to me. We're able to share with each other what's happened. And I think sharing is also very important because you can't ever forget, or it's something that never will leave you. But the fact that you can talk to other people about this loss. I met a lady shortly after my daughter passed, and she came up to me, she was in the studio, and she said, I just lost my son. And of course I could feel her pain because I'm still feeling my own. So I asked her when her son had passed. It was 3 days after my daughter had just passed, here in the cafe. Now, everybody can say, well, it's coincidence, and maybe it was, but what a coincidence. Horrible, but it was validation. Does that kind of explain a little bit that they don't leave us. They don't leave us.
Well, it's very inspiring to hear someone who's able to open up about their grief and help others that are entering, the grief or that it may come around later in life. But it is very inspiring to have to, be able to open up with others and share personal experiences because we do grow from one another. Would you agree?
Absolutely, 100% I agree. As the program, as those people, the kids here today touched my heart, it touches my heart very much because I've had that grief now that maybe, again, I'm still learning what that I want to do, not need to do, but that I feel very much that I want to help people that have lost children since I've lost my own child. Mm-hmm. And I have Steve in my life who lost his son. I mean, am I being led to these people or not? It doesn't matter. It still touches me very much. So I believe that we should share, and I'm sure there are grief groups. I believe that's very important to share our loss. But my message is that they are here somewhere. So I can share, but I also want to let people know. And it's up to them to believe that or not. But I feel very much that I want to tell people they don't leave us. Love never dies. It never does, just like we don't. So if you have that strong bond, especially when you've lost a child because it's the wrong way around, that love continues. Just because they're not here, they are with us, but we can't see them. So that love never dies. Love doesn't die.
And it was proven to me about 6 months ago that they are always around us. We went to see a medium in Coral Springs, and we were sitting in a particular section, and the medium walked over to the section we were sitting in. There must have been 2,500 people in this auditorium, and she just came to our section and said, if you've lost a son in the last, few months, stand up. Why would she come to my section and ask if there's anyone who lost not a child, not a daughter, just a son? And it was amazing how many people in our little section had recently lost a son. And it was proven to me that they are always around us that night.
That was beautiful, Steve, and I know we shared that. We're going to break for a commercial, come back. This is it's not a great topic, but it's a topic that we need to help people with, for both of us, you and I, since we both lost a child. Yes, it does. So if anybody wants to call in on that particular topic, please do so. We're going to break for a commercial, or anything else that you're thinking about. Thank you. We'll be back shortly.
A true story, Call Me Zena is the telling of Sally Bernard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came to the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest in art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she's able to astral project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life's direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today.
This world, this life, this illusion. What is going on, we ask? What is happening? Why not take time and see what is happening? This world as we know it, it seems so real, and yet so far away from where we've come. Corruption, greed, anger, power, revenge. Please wake up. We can change what is around us. How, we may ask? Learn to go back to where we were. Then we will have the clues. Then we can change and go forward. Please take the time. Do not fall into the game which we have put upon ourselves. We can change. We can make a difference. We have the power, each and every one of us. Go in peace. Go with love. Go as one. Zena. You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Bernard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you could always seek me out for resources. Visit artbysallybernard.com today. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. Here we are again in the studio. Any questions? We're opening it up to the audience sitting here. Okay, that was a spirit answering our question. They're going, well, aren't you asking me? Okay, spirit, please give us a question.
Linda says she was watching earlier in the segment on the child caregivers touched her greatly as well. Thank you, Linda, for watching. All right, so Sally, things are happening here in the studios. We're sitting here, right? Doors are opening, they're slamming.
They are,
Hear them.
Yes.
Any information coming through from that? I can't say who or what.
Well, let's say the obvious. They're here with us and they're listening to the show, Dawn. They're trying to tell us, they're really trying to make us aware that they are around. The candle. I mean, I came in at the end of that story, but I related to a candle that happened to me many, many years ago before I really understood any of this, that stayed alight for 3 days without a wick. How does that happen in a little bottle? You're telling me part of the story. Can you just maybe relate to the audience a little bit of what happened?
Well, you're
Put
here
you on the spot.
slamming. We have doors that are unreachable without a 10-foot ladder that are opening and closing as we're sitting here. So every time you hear a slam, the doors are closing by themselves. Steve even
Beautiful.
had me turn the air up because you guys were cold. So it's not even the air that's doing anything. There's nobody up there, but they're slamming. So my question for you is it, do they let you know if you're on the right path, if you're doing the right thing, or do they get upset and they're saying, listen, I'm upset, don't do this?
Well, it must be, if you think about it, it's got to be frustrating for them, just like us. We don't change that much on the other side. We just can't see them. So if we're absolutely on the wrong path, they're going to let us know. But it's up to us to understand that. If we're on the right path, they're going to let us know. So we've got to figure that out. But if they're around, it's one of the two. It's not just like, I'm going to leave you alone. They're not going to leave us alone if we're wrong. They're not going to leave us alone if we're on the right track. They want to make themselves aware. Now, just like here, I could talk to a lot of people maybe that have come to see me. Well, not come to see me because they'll have an interest, but I could be at a party, let's say, where people absolutely are not going to believe anything I say. That's okay. But I'll go to someone that is going to believe because my message is, I feel my message has to be passed on. But I'm not going to waste my time with someone that goes, oh, no, you're a witch. Understand that, but I'm not going to waste my time with that. They're not going to necessarily do the same thing. We are drawing them in. So if we listen, they know that you're going to listen. They know that anybody in this studio is listening. They have something to tell us. I'm not sure yet what, but they are aware that we are hearing them because they're making their presence known, Dawn.
And you're hearing them. It's not just me sitting here.
No,
You
we're
hear
all
them.
hearing. We're all hearing them.
It's you.
So it's a message now for one of us. It's up to us to be able to interpret that too. They do need to find, they need their presence here. I think it's not just one, it's a few people here, a few spirits that have passed on. They're definitely in your studio. And no, I feel that it's a very positive message. They're telling us that we are, and especially you, because it's your studio, are doing everything that you're doing now, and very similar to how we talked in the opening of this program. You guys are definitely on the right track. So I feel that they're wanting to tell you this more and more. Keep doing. Even if you think to yourself, well, I'm not getting anywhere with what I'm doing. We all do that. Continue. Please continue. And listen to them too. Listen to the doors banging, okay?
You hear it.
And that opening.
Linda writes, besides losing a child, I think early parent loss is unnatural. You guys put that back up. Tracy says it's the old piano. I think early parent loss is unnatural and leaves the child yearning for that connection that is missing.
To lose a child, we feel it is the wrong way around because we're here to look after our kids. And if they pass, we can blame ourselves, we can do many things. But when we're on the other side, as best that I can tell you, it's all about love, and we've heard that many times. So I believe very much in past lives. So that child that we may have lost here in our physicality here that has left us could very well have been, again, people may go, oh, what is she talking about? But I feel they very well could have been a parent to us. So there's a message to take from this. But being where we are, it's the wrong way round, and I completely understand that. However, that happens to many people. We lose children. So the message here is that love will never die, whether it's a child, you can lose someone, as I did my stepmother, who was just nearing 100 years old. That hurt is still there, but that love will never go. Just because she lived longer than other people, it doesn't mean that I don't feel that loss. But they never leave us. We never leave them. We meet again. That's the best way that I can say that.
Linda's question was actually dealing with the fact that she lost her mother early, so early parent loss rather than losing a child. So is there some advice that you can give, some meaning that you can take from people that lose parents early?
Well, kind of, that's what I guess, but maybe I wasn't saying it correctly. It doesn't matter what age, because I mentioned the 100-year-old, but my stepmother was, we still feel a loss, no matter what it is. It seems to be, we say it hurts more. Well, of course it does when you lose a child. But when you lose a parent, the loss is great. So it's not really, it is age because we feel that a child is the wrong way around. But we still hurt as much.
Yeah. And 4 days ago would have been my father's 108th birthday. And I never really make note of that, but for some reason I was announcing to the world that I lost my father early and he would have been 108 today. What do you suppose made me do that?
Because you met me. And now you understand. And he knows that. So now he's able to come to you. Maybe he couldn't come to you before. Perhaps he was trying, but you've opened your mind, Steve. We've had too much validation that there is nothing more, that there is so much more, that it's just not the end. They're aware of what we're going through. They know that you've opened your mind. So he's going, now at last I can get through to my son. Okay, that's what I feel that he's saying, okay?
Okay, Dad.
Okay.
We had somebody in earlier, you heard her story about her daughter who's ill. And she says she knows that life led her up to having a child that was ill. Not that she wanted one, but she knew her circumstances prepared her to be able to incur the expenses. And that her daughter chose them. Do you feel the same way when you heard her story?
Yes, and I went up to her and I said that I feel I want to talk to you because my belief is the same as hers, because I believe that we choose our parents before we come in. And if there is usually a message, I would say sometimes, for the parents. It may be that they need to feel, I don't know her, I'm not referring to her situation, but maybe parents have to learn to love. So the child, well, in a way, I'm going to sacrifice, but it really isn't, themselves to come in for a few years, which reminded me, and I actually did tell her this, of a story of a mother that had had several children, and I don't remember the illness, but they would come in and they would die, pass, I don't like to use the word die, shortly after their birth. But she knew this, but continued to have more children. And one child, the last one that she had, and the little boy, all I remember is his name was Maddie. And viewers might know because he became very well known. He had this illness, but he stayed around to 7 or 8. He did not pass directly after birth. And his mother, and I'm getting goosebumps, I don't know this family, I would just listen to it on television. His mother learnt so much. This child was writing poetry, was so adult for his age, and he hung around here till he was 8 years old. So there's reasons. It's hard to understand that. Of course it's hard because we're told a different way. But as long as we can, and tragedy, and as I know that you know here, as one of my guests here in the studio, had a terrible tragedy, and we don't pass it off. It's terrible. But we grow sometimes from that. And knowing that they're still around to help us helps too. It really does. It's helped me. And I hope to pass that message on to people that have recently, or we never get over the death of anybody, actually, be it a child, a parent, or a grandmother, a father. But it seems to hit home more because it's a child. But we're still here, even if we don't live the length that we're meant to. So I'm here to help people as best I can with that.
How do you think people can interpret the messages that they hear or they see?
Well, it's entirely up to us too. It's where our thought process is, actually. What I hear today is not what I felt the message would be, say, 10 or 12, even 12 years ago. I mean, I was lucky enough to have a guide. Again, I mention him often, Aldo, who came here to teach me. He did, absolutely, from when he met. So I had 18 years of beginning to learn a lot more. So prior to me meeting him, messages that I may have had, I would either disregard or interpret them differently. Even my art, this is some of my art, I don't mention it enough, but it did come to me just in a dream that I could paint. Now, I interpret, as he did in my book, some of my art. Today, I see more messages in my art, and I drew this 18, 17, 16 years ago of the message that I have, especially some of the sketches that I did. So the more I learn, I see it in my art. So it's not like we don't know. We do, because I proved that with my art. But we don't always see it, because our time is not always the right time to see it. I chose to try to remember, which I'm beginning to now, because I think I have a message for people. I want to pass that message on to help people.
So I was going to ask, are we supposed to share the messages? Like
Depends.
these messages, is this a message I'm supposed to share, or are they saying, no, I'm here for this space, don't share it?
No. I believe if they're showing us, absolutely I believe that we're meant to share it. However, be careful where you share it.
I was just gonna say
because,
that.
you know, again, we don't get burnt at a stake, you know, as they did. But there are a lot of people that are just, I'm going to say they're just not ready in this particular lifetime. So be a little selective. Obviously, in a studio where you're bringing in people as myself. I mean, I'm not going around the streets telling everybody my story, because I wouldn't be on the streets very long. I'd be somewhere else where I wouldn't be able to get out. However, it's important, though, for those that want to listen. And I say that for those that want to listen. It's a very, very important message.
There was something you said about Maddie's story, how he wrote poetry and he was like an old soul. Like my son Giovanni was like that. He he was an old soul. Like, he loved to talk to older people, and when he'd go spend the night at his friend's house, he'd like to talk to the parents and find out about their careers and stuff. And when Giovanni was murdered at his funeral, the principal read one of his poems, and I remember it. It was, "My dream is to fly, to soar through the sky, to venture the vast world." And I sometimes wonder, do children know that they're gonna go, or how do you like not foresee something?
And my answer to that, and I can't tell you for sure, but I think they have they feel something. I truly do. Because the younger you are, you don't really think about passing or death. But I feel, and I'm going to go back, and I'm not going to mention names, but I had a really good friend who lost a son at the age of 15. I'm not sure, I believe it was leukemia. And she went in, she didn't clear his room. He also had a brother who is still living. And she went into his room many years later. She couldn't go into the room at all. Remember, he was 15 when he passed. She went in, she cleaned maybe, but couldn't clean out everything in the room. She went in, and I believe it was under his bed. There must have been, and she told me, she was a good friend, and it still is a good friend of mine, I just haven't spoken to her in a while, that as she was clearing out the books, they were all on reincarnation. She did not know that he was interested in it, and yet he had been reading at 15 years old about reincarnation. Can we explain that? No. I felt that I can't tell you that he knew, and I don't, she may be listening to the program, I don't know. I know she does listen, I don't know, but she actually told me that, and she was a believer of reincarnation, but I don't believe she'd talked to her son about it. So does that kind of gives you some sort of, did he know? Why was he reading these books at 15 years old? Not necessarily even talking about it. So maybe that gave him comfort to know that we do come back, which is definitely 100% my belief system. Does that explain it a little?
Yes, before I found out that my son had passed, I remember that morning a blue jay showing up on the fence, and my son's favorite color was blue. So, you know, in books that I've read about grief, they say, you know, you could find meaning in birds and butterflies and different signs that tell you they're still around.
Well, and that brings back to what, and I feel, I'm not mentioning her name, so if she's listening, I know that she's able to validate what I'm saying. But she did tell me on the anniversary of his death, and I was not a believer like I am today when she told me the story, I'm going back 18 years ago, that on the anniversary of her son's passing, I don't remember, what are those big birds that, there's a name, they stand upright? There is a name for these, they're in Florida.
Heron?
Yes. They would dance around on her patio. She told me that, and now you're bringing up the bird. I wouldn't have even said that. But she would tell me that. She noticed every year that they were there on her patio or by her pool. So, yes, I think they do come to us as birds. Well, as anything, actually, that will get our attention. I'm not saying they're the bird, but it's to get our attention. It's, you know, it's a sad topic. It's a topic, I think, that it's to have it out in the open, if it helps, I think it's good in a way to be able to express this. That's why I feel that in a grief situation, the more people that can talk or have this belief should share it, definitely.
Like we've all said when things have happened to us, why did it have to be him? And why so young? And but I've become more and more of a believer in the fact that everything happens for a reason. And I think the poem that was read at your son's funeral suggested that he might have experienced some of the things that Sally did in flying.
Wow.
Didn't end for Sally the way it did for your son, but it brings us to where we are today. But I think all things happen for a reason. You've probably been told that by numerous therapists that I'm sure you've spoken to.
Yes.
And actually, that's a really good point, Steve. I did think that I didn't bring it up because we have just met. But my story began with me, if you know anything, you may or may not, about astral projection. I started my journey when I was aware of I had a journey, that I was flying everywhere. I saw things, I heard things, and that's really what brought me to where I am today, because I couldn't explain where I was going. I knew I was going somewhere. I was flying around, which now I know about astral travel and astral projection. I did not know about it at that time. So yes, I think we give actually I believe we give ourselves the messages to wake up. We're helped by our guides, because I wasn't aware, but my guide materialized, again, we've only just met, but he actually came here, and he told me that he was from another, well, not from another lifetime, he was in this lifetime, but I knew him from another lifetime, and I'm drawing from the lifetime that I knew him in, places, people, and symbols that I had never seen. So it was my time to wake up, that there was so much more than what I thought we had in this world. We have so much going on, as long as we just take note of it. It's not everybody's time. It could come in our next lifetime, if you believe in that. Mine was this lifetime, and mine started with flying.
I just wanted to point out that losing a loved one, I don't think there's ever an explanation, especially a son or a daughter or anything that way. There's no explanation to anything like that, no matter how it occurs. It could be an accident, or it could be on purpose. There's no explanation on it except to mourn the loss, to regroup, and then find another way. I mean, don't let it. This is probably easier said than done. You don't want it to overwhelm you, because then it becomes a negative, and all of a sudden things begin to happen. Like those doors are popping up and closing. And
I do agree with what you're saying, Freddie, but however, and I would never, ever make light of that situation, but since I've lost my daughter too, I feel that pain. It will never go. However, if I can say little things to someone by saying that love never dies, I'm not saying get over their death or their passing, you can't. But if you can look at it from another point of view, not saying, oh, they did that and that's why they passed. Of course we're not going to say that. But just know that there is more. That does help a little bit with the pain. And that's...
You can actually still feel, hear them, and see them. I don't mean to accept the fact that it happened. It's just that there's another plane that continues to grow. It just takes a different way of getting there. And, you know, I lost my parents very closely together, and I talk to them every day. And it isn't the same as them physically being here. I get that. But I'm doing the best I can with what I have.
And that's good too. In fact, that's what I do say to people. The people that I've met, talk to them. They hear us. We don't always get the reply. You know, it comes. I can feel that. I can pick it up. Sometimes it's telepathy, but talk just like they hear. What should I do? We're getting validation right now from all this banging in the studio. Okay, that there is definitely some people around us. Okay, I think we're coming to the end of the program today, our show. Steve, it was great. I know I didn't talk to you that much through the show.
Well, we'll talk later.
Okay. I guess I'm being told off. Okay, but not really, in a nice way. Thank you, and please tune in next week. And we just got validation again. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Coincidence or not, it's time to trust your intuition and knowings. Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Bernard, and you can find my book, artwork, and contact through artbysallybernard.com. Join us next week. This has been Call Me Zena.